Excited about our chat tonight. Um, for those who may just be joining us or joining us for the first time, my name is Aisha Taylor Issa. I am the founder and CEO of the Sisters in Business Expo, the country's only multi-city small business expo created to celebrate entrepreneur women of color. And tonight we are so excited to be hosting a live chat. And we have Erin Bush with us of Makerhoods in Newark. So I'm going to allow her to introduce herself and tell you a little bit about her and Makerhoods.
Hi, everyone. My name is Erin Bush. I am a storyteller. I have over a decade of experience in content strategy, content creation, and content marketing, mainly in the e-commerce B2C space. I am a business development advisor with Makerhoods. Makerhoods, our mission is to help the tiniest of businesses increase their income. Our goal is to increase your take-home income to generate wealth for yourself and also for your family. We are here in Newark, and we are helping regionally to build thriving community of entrepreneurs.
Very cool, very cool. So, Erin, I'm not sure if you're able to lower your phone a little bit. It seems like we're getting cut off some.
Okay, 1 second, everyone.
Otherwise, the sound and the picture and everything is okay. So again, welcome everyone. If you're just joining us, we are chatting tonight with Erin Bush from Makerhoods, and we're going to be talking about some tips on how you can maximize your sales at pop-up markets. We know that this is, we're entering holiday season, so there are going to be tons of pop-up events and vendor events. And of course, at the Sisters in Business Expo, that is the crux of what we do. And so we've seen and experienced a lot as it relates to vendor events. And then, of course, with Makerhoods, they support entrepreneurs in a lot of those types of events as well. And we've, of course, seen some things that might not be in the best interest of the business owner. And so we wanted to, before we kind of delve into the holiday season, talk a little bit about some tips and strategies on how you can maximize your time. Did you want to add anything to that?
Maximize your time and maximize your sales.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you want to go ahead and jump in and then start off, and then I can, kind of jump in?
Sure. So are we going to include the link to the download? We have created 10 tips to help you maximize your sales during the holiday pop-up season. Don't leave money.
I'll type it while you're talking.
Perfect. It's all about not leaving money on the table. Pop-up shops are a great way for you to touch base with your customers in a unique way. To create a relationship, to capture information, to enter them into your sales funnel so that you can constantly have communication with them, to alert them to any updates of your brand, any events that you have, any information, educational information within your industry that you want to share. It's all about creating a relationship. I'm just going to jump into number 1.
And I did add the link. So we have a document that you can download, which will give you the full list of 10 tips that we suggest on how you can maximize your sales at pop-up events. It's bit.ly/makesales19. And so there you will find the full list. We're going to touch on a few of the highlighted items that we thought were most paramount for today's conversation, but definitely be sure to download the full list for your arsenal of resources so that the next time you are participating in an event, you can be ready.
Prepared. So we're really going to start with identifying what is your goal of attending the pop-up shop. We know that, of course, it's to increase your sales, but you want to set goals that are specific and measurable, starting with your sales goal. You want to take into consideration your event costs, outside of just registering to be a vendor, any additional costs that you have in encountered in preparing for the pop-up. So you want to decide, you want to make sure that you're breaking even, but you also want to set a ambitious goal. You are face-to-face with customers, you are touching them, you are having a conversation, you are telling them your brand story, you're telling them why. You're listening to whatever their challenge is that your product is going to solve. So you want to set your sales goal. I think that it's imperative to also capture information while your customer is there. And the easiest way is to, at the very least, ask for their email address. And you want to set a goal of the number of email subscribers that you want to make sure that you have by the end of the event. I also think that it's a great guide of making sure that you are greeting your customer, that you're giving them the story of your brand, that you're really engaging them in a conversation. And so it should be absolutely seamless in asking them to sign up on your customer sign-up sheet, to leave their email address and phone number if you engage in any kind of text communication. And number three, I think, of course, it's absolutely imperative to make sure that they are aware of your social media handles on each platform, especially the ones in which you communicate the most and the ones in which your target demographic is easily found. You can display it, you can make sure that you have a conversation with them to let them know what your handles are. You can, in ways, engage them so that if they make a purchase, asking them to tag you, but it's important to make that connection for social commerce.
Yeah. And I would just add, because we do, particularly with the Sisters in Business Expo, we're intentional about including both products and service vendors in our events. I myself started out as a service vendor. I've owned a career consulting and recruiting firm for many years. And a lot of times I felt kind of at a crossroads about events like this. I wasn't sure whether they were really for me or if I was going to participate, what was really my goal. And so we've tried to educate and change the mindset of those who have service businesses and think that an event like this is not for them. It couldn't be any less than true. In fact, you want to be there just as much as someone who's selling a product. The reality is that people can't take advantage of your business if they don't know that your business exists. And so when you're in a space like this, it's really about just expanding your footprint and making people aware of your brand, of your services, of what you offer, and then of course, how they can get in touch with you, right? What is the value add that you bring to the table so that the next time I am looking for a tax preparer, or I am looking for a daycare center, or whatever the service is that you're providing, I can recall and remember that I met you at the event. And it shouldn't be too difficult because beyond the event, you would be communicating with me and following up with me. So we always like to keep that in mind for those who have service businesses and think, oh, well, I'm not going to be selling anything. I'm not going to make back my money. You have no idea how much you're going to make or what the impact is going to be by simply being in the room and having people be aware of what you do and what you bring to the table. So we just want to also make sure that those with service businesses are comfortable and know that that's an opportunity for them as well.
Absolutely. It's an opportunity. The doors of your business open as soon as your mouth opens, and what a better space to interact with individuals than face-to-face at a vending opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. So the next part we wanted to touch on, something that we see a lot that it's really a missed opportunity, is building the buzz beforehand about your participation in an event. A lot of times people are participating, but they don't really let anybody know. Right. And so they might post a flyer, once or twice, if that, and think that, that's really effective enough. But the reality is that it's not just the onus of the person hosting the event to get people there, but people are attracted to the brands that are going to be there and the services that you offer or the products that you offer, particularly if you already have any type of following and they're waiting on an opportunity when they can see you in person and actually take advantage. And we miss out on those opportunities a lot because sometimes vendors will pay their fee, you know, and they'll know they've got it on their calendar, and then they say nothing else about it until maybe the day of, maybe the day before. You want to consistently be letting your audience know how they can find you, right? How they can stay connected with your brand. If you had a lemonade stand and you didn't post where you're going to be and when, how would anybody know to come get that lemonade, right? And so the same is true when you're participating in events like this. You want to make it a part of your marketing strategy, right? And whatever your regular posts are, whatever your social media calendar looks like, that should be something that is at the forefront so that people know where you're going to be, when they can find you, what promotions you're going to be having, what new products you might be introducing, things like that. And sometimes people are disappointed, like, oh, well, I didn't see the crowd I expected or the turnout I expected. Well, how much did you participate in helping to get the people there? And so that's another point that we really see a lot of people miss out on, is the marketing prior to. I don't know if you wanted to add anything else to that.
Absolutely. It's imperative that there's a marketing strategy prior to and prior to a day before the event. The onus is not only on the hostess or the host. And if there's any information that's missing in any of the communication from the host or hostess of the event, reach out to them. If there's any kind of prepared graphic for the event, if there are any details that are missing that you would need to communicate to your customer base to make sure that they can show up, request it. Make sure that you speak up. I think it's also an opportunity to create some great content, some behind the scenes. If you're creating any new products, new scents, just allowing people to see the process. I think that it adds a level of humanization to your brand. Yes. I think that it also, answers any questions. Sometimes just through a screen, people feel that they're unable to possibly interact with you outside of a comment and hoping that you respond. I think that producing that type of content, lifestyle content, makes you real and invites them into your world to ask any questions that they may have. I think that the day of, your first post of the day should be about the event that you're headed to. It should be a reminder, the address, the time, the name of the event, linking and tagging the host, checking into that location also helps. It's just very important, as you stated, to provide all of the information that's needed so that your customer can see you that day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And people like to feel like they're a part of the story, right? Because that's in essence what you're doing, is telling the story. You want to help them build up with you until the day of the event, right? So that now they're almost invested in this thing with you, right? Like, I've been watching you prepare. I've been hearing you talk about it. Now let's see how it goes, right? As opposed to you just showing up with an already set table and having no clue about how you got to that point, right? Share some of the difficulties and some of the challenges you had. Maybe you had a shipping issue and you were worried about something that was going to come in time. Help bring people in to your experience and to your story. It definitely tugs at the heart of the person watching, and might make them a little more sympathetic or empathetic to you when they actually get there and want to decide whether or not to patronize your business. So yeah, definitely. Mm-hmm. So the next one is a huge pet peeve of mine. Such a pet peeve of mine. I cannot, people probably would not believe me if I told them how much I see this happen and how terrible it is. So our third tip that we want to share with you today is to always be interacting when you are present at a vendor event. There are so many times that I walk around either at our own events. We don't see it too much at our own events because we try to talk about it beforehand. Exactly. But we've seen it there too. And then also at other events, we go around, we're, looking and trying to talk and engage with vendors. And they are like this. They're like this.
Behind the table.
Behind the table. Absolutely. Sitting down, usually, like this. Mm-hmm. They may look up and say, "Did you need something?" and are back like this, y'all,
That is not the way
it's
to
a
go.
no-no. It's not the way to go. First of all, it's disrespectful. Okay, it's disrespectful. You would not like it if you walked into a store, if you walked into CVS or you walked into Macy's and the staff person, the associate was not paying you any attention, did not greet you, was not engaged, did not offer any sincere assistance, right? You would not like that. So why on earth would you do that same thing to someone who has taken the time to stop? Right? And even if they did not stop, perhaps they would have had you been engaged.
Addressed them. Exactly.
Had you addressed them, had you been, had you interacted, right? And I don't know, I try to understand the reasoning behind why that happens. I don't know if some people are just nervous or if I think a lot of times it's that people leave people at their tables who should not be there, and are not representing the brand well. And I think some people are just don't know better. And so that's why we're here today. Right? Because when you know better, you do better. Right? And if you know that you are not, if you know that, because everybody is not a salesperson. Everybody does not necessarily have that personality. You might be great at creating your product or doing your service, and maybe that environment is intimidating to you. Then as the owner of the brand, you should invest in having someone there who can speak and represent the brand well on your behalf. You are totally, totally missing the mark if you are just sitting there and not engaging. You want to jump in, Erin?
I do. It's a pet peeve of mine as well. Your customer is not behind your table. And I know personally myself, if you're behind your table and you don't seem too interested in your products or educating me on your products, I'm not interested in asking the question either. And I will keep going. You should be in front of your table. You should be engaging, at least addressing everyone who passes by and who looks your way, saying good morning, good afternoon, how are you? You may not naturally be a salesperson, and you don't want to be aggressive with your customer.
That's the other extreme, girl. That's the other extreme.
Yeah, you're not pouncing on them to make the sale. Establishing a genuine connection can lead into a conversation about your brand if you're unsure how to initiate that conversation. But I think that it's important to acknowledge whether or not you have that skill set and to put a plan in place to practice and to improve.
Absolutely.
Being able to initiate a conversation and to practice on strangers. There was a point in my life with sales that I took time, to make sure that I targeted a certain number of strangers until I worked through the fear of warm chatting. So place yourself in a space to be able to reach your customer or allow your customer to reach you.
Yeah, definitely. And there've been times where I've seen things that I was actually interested in. But because the person at the table was so disengaged, so uninviting, I just passed, right? Because I'm not going to force myself on you to spend my money, right? Or to learn more about your brand or your business. And so we've really got to do better with that. I think in some ways, social media has also become a deterrent or a hindrance in that regard, because we want to be posting all the time and reposting and scrolling. If at all possible, you should try to have someone assigned to that, right? Where that is their role. Yeah. Or you just really kind of have to gauge it. You have to be able to multitask. If you're the only one there at that present time and, it's maybe slowed down for a second and you do take a minute to post it, you still need to be able to stop and engage someone who may be passing by, get back to that post later, because the people right in the room are the ones you really want to engage with the most. The social media audience is secondary. It's important, but it's secondary. The audience in the room is your primary focus when you are at an event. And so we really, really have to break away from feeling like every single time we take a picture, we got to stop and post it and put the caption and the hashtags and all of that stuff. And meanwhile, people are just passing by.
Passing by. Your money is passing by you. It's also an opportunity if a customer is looking at a product to engage them with the product, to open it up, to allow them to smell it, feel it, test it. That is your opportunity to present to them, and that's not going to happen with your face in your phone, in your screen.
Yes.
And I
So
agree with
this,
you. Social media is 24/7,
mm-hmm.
and content sometimes can be evergreen, meaning that it can be posted at any time. But I also think that it's important to understand that the day after or the week of an event, there's still momentum. There's still an opportunity to
Absolutely.
post content. So there, in no way do you have to post in the moment. And I love the idea of having an assistant. Having an assistant who's aware of your brand aesthetic, how you like to post on social media. Have them aware of your hashtags and if you're linking to a product, someone that can handle that for you so that you can stay engaged with your customer that is at hand.
Yeah, yeah. The reason why I got kind of excited because when you mentioned about having, opening up and demonstrating and things like that, like that's not even on our list, but that is
Okay,
so
but it's
important
important.
because I have seen, for example, and this person, they making me watch it and they know I love them, so it's all good. One of our dessert vendors who I know her stuff is good, but I know that because I've had it. And
Mm-hmm.
so she had these beautifully displayed desserts, but she didn't have any samples. And I was like, sis,
We want to taste this.
you gotta open one of them slices and cut that up and let these people taste this cake. Because the look alone, you cannot sell cake by looking at it.
No, not at
Right?
all.
You cannot. People need to taste it. If you have a lotion
Taste
or a
it.
body butter or a perfume or something, people need to feel it. They need to
They need
smell
to
it, right?
experience the product.
Even if you have a service, in any way that you can show the outcome of what you do, whether it's through
Mm-hmm.
pictures or video or anything like that, I need to see. Seeing is believing, right?
Absolutely.
And so we miss out. Oh, y'all, you got to have that stuff available to people. Figure it out.
Figure it
And
out.
if you are not able to invest in enough to provide samples, then you cannot do these types of
And have
events.
it
You
readily
have to invest in it.
available. Have it readily available. Your customer doesn't want to wait for you to go behind your table to find your sample, to open it, to mix it
Find a
up. Have
knife. You gotta
all
find a
of that.
napkin.
Yes. Have it available, and also figure out a way that you can have them available for people and it's clear that they can experience it on their own. There are some
Mhm.
individuals who may just want to come up to your table to have a moment with themselves and the product. They may not want to engage in too much of a conversation with you, but they need to know that the product is there for them to experience.
Absolutely, absolutely. And again, so those of you who might just be joining us, I'm Aisha with the Sisters in Business Expo, and we have Erin with Makerhoods, and we are
Hi.
chatting about tips on how you can maximize your sales at pop-up events. And so we're sharing about 5 and some bonus ones,
Right.
but there
We
is a
definitely are
full
running
list.
bonus.
There is a full list that's available on the Makerhoods website. So if you should see the pinned comment there. You can go to bit.ly/make-sales19 and you'll be able to download the full list. So let's go ahead and jump into the next one. Oh, and if you have any questions while we're going, feel free to put them in the comments and we'll get to them at the end. Go ahead.
Yes. The next one, we're back to the email list about capturing customer information. Email marketing is king at this point. Not only is it a way for you to constantly communicate with your brand, about your brand, it's the driver of acquiring new business, and it's also a driver of retention. And we won't dive too deeply into an email marketing strategy, but you should be using email marketing to communicate with your customers on a regular basis, whether it be reminders, whether it be announcements of new products, whether it be a flash sale that you're having. It could be linking to a new blog post that you have that's educational and informational, something that's industry driven, but customer centric. Email marketing, should be and has to be a part of your overall marketing strategy. And the best way to do that is to, if you're uncomfortable or if you're not having success with asking people to simply sign up or to leading them to your website to sign up for a newsletter. If you're unable to capture that email information, you might want to host a giveaway. You might want to motivate them through a raffle. Excuse me. You can offer a discount with their next purchase. Something that would provide value to them in the moment, for them to want to allow you to contact them on a consistent basis.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's critical, right? You know, a lot of times we'll send people, oh, follow me on Instagram, follow me on whatever. And that's great. You want them to follow you, but remember, we don't own social media, right? And we've seen it happen on several occasions before where Instagram just went down, right, for a whole day. And what did we do? If your business is solely relying on the interactions you have on a particular social media site and you don't have any other way to reach and engage your customers, then you're going to be at a disadvantage, right? You want to have some sort of marketing strategy that you own, that you can control, and having the email addresses of your audience is very critical. Being in events like this, being at spaces like this is an ideal time to capture those types of contacts. And so you definitely want to make that available. If at all possible, try to digitize that experience. So most recently, even for our shop, we invested in a stand for our tablet, got it on Amazon for, I think, like $30 or something like that. Folks can join the mailing list right from the tablet. We don't have to worry about trying to figure out handwritings and guessing, and then maybe the address is bouncing back. So, you know, try to make it seamless for folks. And another thing is that on our site, for example, there are more things available on the site than there are that we have at the actual event, right? So we're always directing people to the site. And in doing so, when you join the mail list, you automatically get a discount code, right? And so you want to have some type of buy-in that makes it attractive for people to join your mailing list. So if you guys have any, we had someone, I think it was Pretty Gal and Jay, mentioned that you should always wear your brand when you're at your event. Yes, we definitely would agree with that. And if you're
job of wearing her brand and representing.
Yeah. It's critical. Like, why would anybody else want to do it if you're not, right? And even if it's not that you're selling clothing, it's just another way to have your brand recognized. Because if I don't look down, right? If I'm eye length with you and I don't look down to see what name is on your table, if it's right here on your shirt, you know, then now I know what it is, or if it's here, whatever. So you want to touch and catch people in as many ways as you possibly can. So whether it's going to be on a sign, on a banner, on a tablecloth, on your clothing, whatever it is.
On clothing, it's the opportunity as you're moving throughout the event. You know, you're not going to be behind your table, as we've discussed. But you may be moving out to grab something to eat or to do some shopping on your own, and you're going to be engaging with customers. And how great is it to have your brand right here that they can read, that now they'll be able to recognize, and hopefully they will find you and find your booth to continue the conversation and to make the conversion into a sale.
So true. So true. Love it, love it, love it. Village to Vendor Pop once said it's shocking how many vendors don't wear their brand. It is. And if your brand, and it might manifest itself in different ways, right? So if your brand is that you sell eyewear, right? Then you should be wearing some beautiful eyewear that's going to catch my attention, right? And I can
be the conversation starter. Yes,
definitely. All right, so our next tip for you today, and it's actually our last one, but then we'll take some questions and see if there's anything else we want to add on, is the follow-up. Right? The real magic happens in the follow-up.
Yes.
And this is whether you are selling a product or promoting a service, right? Because and I think this is where a lot of product businesses miss out, right? Because they think, oh, they bought something, that's great, I made my sales, I made some money, I'm good, right? No, because that's not the only time you want them to buy something.
Exactly. There's replenishment.
Yes, you want to have a sustainable model. You want the customers to keep coming back. And
Uh-huh.
so you have to follow up whether they bought something or not, right? And so many people miss out on that because the event is over, the hype is over, the energy is done, and you go right back to life and business as usual, and you've just missed out on the opportunity to engage with hundreds of people that you connected with at an event.
Absolutely.
So you definitely want to make it a point to follow up immediately within the first 24 to 48 hours if possible.
I agree.
If it was a weekend event, by Monday, those folks should have something in their inbox from you. Even if it's just a matter, if it was something where somebody purchased, could be like, thank you, tell us how you liked your product. Is there anything that, any questions you might have about it? If it was the service business and you want to just follow up, tell them more about your business, offer a discount, offer a free consultation, whatever it is, follow up. Because you don't want people to forget about you. And to be very honest, I've had times like that where I came across someone at an event and I couldn't remember, right? Like I said, oh, I saw it, but I can't remember the name, or I can't remember what it was because I don't have anything, right? As opposed to me being able to go to my inbox and saying, oh, that's that business because they're
Exactly.
emailing me every week. They followed up, we've communicated. And so a lot of people miss out on that. Did you want to add something?
I would agree. I think that people get very comfortable with sharing post-event content on social media. But like you said, you're missing out on the opportunity to A, be top of mind, to B, expand their knowledge of your brand. It could have been that somebody just happened to pass by and grabbed a card. It could have been you had a conversation and they connected with you on social media and you received their email address. But you were only displaying maybe 10 of the 15 products that you offer. There's always a way to reintroduce your customers or your potential customer to your brand. And email is the best way to do that. And as time goes on, customers prefer to receive correspondence via email. At one point, we were, over emails. They weren't really engaging. They were black and white. It was just straight communication. There are so many ways to use a variety of media within your email to capture your customer's attention and the ability to drive them wherever it is that you want them to go. Include links, backlinks, direct them to the exact URL of the product that you're talking about or to the exact blog post. You have the ability to control where the traffic is going in order to make that conversion into a sale.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So don't get so caught up, and just get right back to life as usual. Make sure that you have a plan in place. And you can actually prepare in advance, right? You could have the email ready where you just have to plug the email addresses in. A lot of people now are also adding text message communication and marketing, right? Because the open rate is a lot higher because people are always on their phones. And so you may want to also begin trying to capture cell phone numbers at events. Sometimes you may have to do that later once they've begun to trust you, and you can add an opt-in feature for text messaging, but definitely keep that in mind as a marketing option as well. So we have a question here. Let's see. AV Fashion 7878. Hey, how are you? She is asking, how do you reach customers who don't trust online sales because you're new or you're not known? What would you say about that?
I would say so. You just touched on this a moment ago of building trust. And I'm going to assume that your product is not only just offered online. I'm not sure if you're available to mail to a customer. I would definitely communicate with them, offer a value prop, offer a percentage off, possibly, mail her or him or her, however they prefer, or ask them to come and pick up a sample. I would give a little in order to build that trust. And I think that it should set you on a path to think about your digital footprint and how can you expand your brand online in order to avoid this happening in the future. It should order your next steps.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that, you know, as we move more and more into this digital age, which we're already, you know, enthralled in, you will probably find that happening less and less, possibly from maybe some senior clients or those who are not as tech savvy, who still prefer sort of brick and mortar and that type of situation. And so, you know, I have not had that personal experience where I've engaged a whole lot of people because it's become just such a norm now, right?
Yeah,
like retail stores are closing left and right because everyone is shopping online. And so, you know, as long as you have, and I think it's about your branding too, right? Because if I see you have a professional website, you've got a professional shopping and checkout feature, right? It shouldn't be any reason why I could not trust that. Yeah, it should not be an issue. So you want to make sure that you have those things in place. If you're just asking somebody to like cash app you $20 and then you're going to send them something in the mail, I probably wouldn't trust that either.
I probably would back out of that.
Yeah. So what process are you using? What systems are you using for the customer to shop online? If it is a reputable online e-commerce platform, there should be no reason why they would not trust you. But again, if you're kind of trying to
options for payments, you know, possibly giving the consumer on your website the option to check out with PayPal or any of the third parties where their, you know, sale is protected if there is any question or if they are nervous. I agree. We might just need to know a little bit more.
She says she has a site, but you can give us more details if you like, or we can talk offline and see exactly what the issue is. But if you have a website, you're using one of the reputable and protected platforms for doing online sales, you know, if folks are not comfortable with that, then I don't know what to tell them because it's 2019, about to be 2020. Like, if you don't want to shop online, I don't know what to tell you. Okay. Any other questions? Any other questions for us on how you can take advantage or overcome some of the obstacles or issues that arise at events, at pop-up events, at vendor events? We really want you to go into this holiday season confident, with some new insight, new tips and strategies on how you can best take advantage of these events, right? One thing that I definitely really try to harp on a lot is mindset. That a lot of it, before we even get to the marketing and the email list and your display and all that stuff, is your mindset, right? Like, how do you enter the room? Do you come in with a positive attitude, with a great energy, with a positive spirit, you know, open and accepting to whatever God has for you to receive in that room that day, right? Or are you coming in tired and frustrated because you were up all night and you don't like your spot and you don't like the person next to you, and like all of that plays a role. It plays a part. What you put out is what's going to come back, right? And your mindset, your attitude makes a big difference, and then it translates, and customers can see it.
We'll feel that, absolutely. And I think the most important part is that all of those situations are a choice. You can choose to allow it to interrupt your day and to interrupt your energy, or you can go in and you can have a tunnel vision and be focused and remember what the goals that you set for yourself for the day. You know, if you're spending your time worried about where your table location is and you don't like the person next to you, are you going to hit that sales goal? Are you going to capture enough email addresses to hit your goal for the day? That should be your only goal. Your only goal. So it's a choice of whether or not you want to have a successful day and leave no money on the table, or if you're willing to walk away.
Yeah. I've had a vendor tell me once that as soon as she got in the room, the vendor next to her started off complaining and just complained the whole day. And she said she had to decide, I am not going to let this person ruin my day.
Exactly.
Right? You know, because we have no control.
Over here.
That's right. So we have another question. I'm loving these questions. Chance and Creative. Hey, girl. She says, how do you leverage networking with fellow vendors?
So I definitely think it's important to network with all of the vendors in attendance. I think that it provides a group of support. I also think that each vendor is a wealth of knowledge. There's a possibility of finding out about additional opportunities for you to show your brand, to participate at vending events. I think it's an opportunity for collaboration, possibly in the future. I definitely think that before the end of the event, that if you are not at your table by yourself and you have someone that you trust, that you take the time to walk the floor to make the connection with the vendors who are there.
Yeah, yeah. And, you know, again, because time is limited, your main focus, your main goal is to be present for your business and your brand, right? And so when there's a slower time or something, and you definitely want to just try to walk around and connect with as many people as you can, but consider that as part of your follow-up, right? You may not be able to have a long conversation with every vendor. You may not be able to purchase or support every single vendor that you even want to, right? But get their cards, get their information, follow up. You know, the same way you would with the audience, with the attendees, have a separate email for your fellow vendors. Hey, it was great vending with you this weekend. I'd love to connect and see ways that we could potentially collaborate. We've had some amazing partnerships and synergies happen at our events between vendors, right? We have one vendor who was picked up by another vendor who has a national brand to sell her products on her site and in her store, right? Just because they both were at an event together. And so many other little stories like that. We've had vendors who found their caterers that they needed, or the person to do their wedding cake, or just different things like that because they were at the same event. They were both vendors. And so, yes, we definitely have to, Village to Vendor says we have to stick together. Yes, vendors definitely should stick together. And definitely support one another. Our motto for Sisters in Business Expo is when my sister wins, we all win. So there is we dispel any type of competition or, you know, negative energy that would have vendors not seeing that they are anything else but a support for one another. And so that is definitely the case. But we also want to just work smart and not sacrifice your presence at your space because you are engaging and loving on your fellow vendors so much. So you got to have some balance. And, you know, be intentional about following up with other vendors just like you do attendees. So that's a great question. So we have another question from Ilsa. Hey, Ilsa. She says she's doing an event on 12/3. And she's going to be, Ilsa has a massage, a spa, and she's doing an event on 12/3 and says she's going to be doing hand massages and wants to know if we have any suggestions.
Now, I love the idea of a hand massage. I think that the one thing I would keep in mind is I would use a product. I'm assuming that you're going to be using a product that the customer can also purchase and upsell. So I would make sure to.
And if you're not, you should, Ilsa.
You should. Okay, that could be a missed opportunity.
Yes.
I would definitely,
that's another
engage
good
them
point.
about the service, but I would also engage them about product knowledge and which products that I have used, and allow them to feel it, touch it, smell it, talk about the ingredients, talk about the benefits of massage along with said product. That's what I would do.
Yes, yes. You make such a good point about upselling. I get so excited about this kind of stuff. So if there are things that go along with your product or your service, then those things should be things that you sell as well and that you brand, right? So for example, we had a vendor once who was selling coloring books. And with the coloring books, she was giving away a pack of Crayola crayons. I was like, nah, sis. I'm going to need you to get your own crayons, brand your own crayons, and sell those crayons with your coloring book.
Absolutely.
Now, if you want to test it out, and maybe give away a couple of whatever, but they should still be your brand.
They should be your brand.
Because Crayola ain't giving you nothing.
Include them in some sort of spend a certain amount of money, get a free, lines of
Yes.
crayons, but they still
Yes.
should be your branded crayons
Right.
that are
So
available for sale on your website.
so if you are ABC coloring book, you should have ABC
ABC
crayons.
crayons.
You should have ABC crayons because people need crayons with a coloring book,
Okay. ABC
right?
coloring pencils,
Right.
whatever can go along with it.
So unless Crayola is cutting you a check, don't be giving nobody their crayons. Okay, that's number one. Then we had another vendor who had fitness products, and she was saying that you should get, making recommended items to go with her fitness program. So like a water bottle and a mat and things she was telling you to go get. I said, I'm gonna need you to be selling those things.
Yes, great ideas. Great ideas. They need
Put
those.
your name on a water bottle and sell that mug. Why send me somewhere else to get a water bottle?
Get that.
So y'all, this is what we mean when we say leaving money on the table. Okay? Don't leave it there. Monetize everything. Okay? And if your business, your brand, whatever requires an add-on, a bonus, whatever, something that is essential to your product being effective, then you should add that to your line of products or services.
Enhance your experience, then you should have that product and it should be branded.
Yes. I think I saw another question that was a good one. Oh, yes, from the poor artists. Let me see if I can get back to it. For some reason, this thing is hard to scroll. Okay. She says, should vendors discern the events they choose to participate in? Meaning have like a checklist of pros and cons on what they should pass on.
Absolutely. Going into any, I think that step one is identifying, when you're looking at all of your opportunities, first you want to identify, will you reach your target market at this event? If it's not your target market, then it's not an event that I would participate in. If your target market is female driven, I don't know, 24 to 40, but you're attending an auto show where the demographic is men from, 18 to 24, that's something that I would pass on. I would also take into consideration whether or not this is an event that's happened before. I would do my research. I would want to know what the attendance was like. I would want to know what type of marketing and promotion did they do. I would take all of that into consideration. I do think that there should be discernment. You should not say yes to everything. I think that you end up diluting your brand and possibly even becoming burnt out and confused, questioning, why I'm not making the sales. You're starting to second guess your product, and it's not that, sis. You just at the wrong event. You're at the wrong event.
And there's more I could say on that. As one who hosts the events, I would agree. You and now I'm actually on both sides of the table, right? Because we also vend. I used to vend back in the day, but we now vend more currently, and so we've been on both sides of the table. So you definitely want to look for certain things, right? Because I don't care how much you think or how great you think it might be, right? Sometimes you just don't know till you get there. Okay. And so that's why the mindset piece is important, right? Because there are going to be situations where it looked like it was going to be really good. And when you get there, you find out otherwise, and you still have to figure out a way how to make the best out of this situation, right? How do I leave here with something, right? How do I capitalize it? No time is wasted. Right? No, the fact that you are there, that you're in the room, that there are other people there is an opportunity to gain something, right? So we try to, emphasize that, and we've had to do that ourselves, participating in events that were not what they were chalked up to be. But then also you just want to look for branding. Branding is very important, right? So I can look at a flyer immediately and tell if it's an event that's not for me. Because if the flyer is poor quality, if the logo is poor quality, If it in any way looks low budget, to me, that's a
Probably
representation of the effort that you put into the event, right? So that is the first thing that I look for. Then, of course, if at all possible, you try to look for some history, right, of the event, and see anywhere where you can find a track record, if you can talk to other persons who have participated, and get a first-hand experience. But you want to talk to a few people, because you might talk to that negative Nancy, who just would, nothing would have pleased them. And so, but I'm glad she used the word discern, right? Because discern has a spiritual connotation, and we are a faith-based organization, and so we make no hesitation in talking about how important faith and spirituality is for us. And so a lot of times it is going to be that discerning spirit that really is the clarion call for you, right? Like really trying to seek God and understand, is this someplace that I need to be or not, right? And then not ignoring God when he does tell you or direct you or give you confirmation or affirmation, because again, sometimes you just don't know what you're getting until you get there. And so, yeah. So Village to Vendor says she's always suspicious of first year events. So I just want to speak to that very quickly, because as one, again, who created this brand, right, and had a first year, I think, again, it all depends on the preparation and the branding and the marketing that is behind the event, right? If the only place you're seeing that event is on Instagram or in your email box or in your DMs, right? In our first year, we sold out, right? In 6 weeks, we were busting at the seams. We had over 700 attendees there. We had MC Light. We had, radio partnerships and national partnerships with Black Enterprise and things like that. So but it was our first year. So that's why we have to just be careful about kind of doing blanket judgments on folks, because everybody has to start somewhere. But if you are starting with your best, right? If you're putting your best foot forward, and if you can tell by what you see, right, from the person putting on the event, you can tell if they're working really hard at it or not, right? And so I think that if they're doing a good job, and so I think that you again, it's kind of, I wish that we could say that there's like this black and white, yes, 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 no, no, no. It's not that simple. But your mindset is really ultimately is what's going to determine how you view the events. But then you also have a choice, right? So if you participate in an event, and even when you go on with the positive mindset, like, okay, this sucks, but I'm going to make the best out of it, then you just know you don't do it again.
Exactly.
That's it.
And I think if you show up to an event and it is just the worst, and you realize that it's just not what you thought, there's really no customers, you've sold to every other vendor there already, I would use that time, if you've decided that you're going to stay until the end, create some content while you're there. Take pictures of your product, create some boomerang and some video clips.
Yes.
Still walk away with something from the day. And it may not be money in your pocket in that moment, but any of that content could ultimately convert a prospect into an actual customer.
Absolutely. No opportunity is a missed opportunity if you capitalize on it. That is so true. That is so true. Nisi326D says, I loved SIB the first year. Poor artist says it is unpredictable. Some first year events are actually awesome because of the hype. That's true. And then what happens is people don't keep doing the work to maintain that hype. And so sometimes they're great in the first year, and then they dwindle. Chanson says SIB was so well organized and attended the first year. Thank you, ladies. So Ilsa has a question. She says, what are the essentials needed when you're vending?
I think that, and this is on our tip sheet that you're going to download. That's right down there and pinned.
Yes, yes.
I think that you should go in with a vision of how is your space, your table, your booth going to be structured? Is there going to be a theme? Your booth is a representation of your brand without speaking. You are going to be encountering people who may not be familiar with your brand, who may have never, have heard of you, who may not have even known that they needed the product that you are offering. But you are making an introduction based on your table, your space, your booth, and whatever theme or decoration that you're adding, it should definitely be in line with your brand.
Yes.
And I also think that it's important to have support and staff going in to know, are you going to have someone who's available? Are you going to have multiple people who are available throughout the day and take shifts? That will allow you to plan out your day. If there's anything that needs to be done.
That is so
true. Beginning essentials. Of course, there's a long list that I could go through, but I would say those two are
I would add, and Village to Vendor mentions as well, your payment options, right? Definitely, you should not be at an event in 2019 or 2020 or any year after that without the ability to take credit or debit cards.
Okay.
Period. And so you want to be sure that you have those items and that they are working, that they're functioning, that you know how to use them.
Before the first customer enters that event, all of that.
Yes, test it out, try it, check the Wi-Fi, check the data, make sure you've got a good signal, all of that, and have a plan B, have a backup plan. So if your swiper is not working, you need to be able to enter those card numbers. If the signal there is not good, have a hotspot ready. Always have a lot of chargers and portable chargers available. You definitely want to make sure your technology is ready and on point. You should not make it hard for anybody to spend their money. They should not have to wait for you to go find change, or they got to go to an ATM.
They just go to the ATM.
Yeah,
they may not come back. They may not come back.
Yes, definitely. Village to Vendor also mentions comfortable shoes. Yes, I see some people work in heels, but that's them. I got some comfortable shoes for sure, definitely. But you want to be sure that and then also your the takeaway. So whatever marketing item that folks are going to take away with them. One thing that I always emphasize at vendor events is when I buy your product, when I get home, I should know who that product came from.
Exactly.
Right. So sometimes if, let's say I buy a pair of earrings, people will put the earrings in a little bag,
in a little pouch, and
that's it. Card. But sometimes if it doesn't have the business card, or if it's not actually in an enclosed pouch. So if I just drop, it in my bag with other purchases, I don't know who it's from. There needs to be something attached. So we're actually about to be out of time. It's going to cut off on us in a second. So we could talk all day about this, I'm sure.
Thank you for having us.
And thank you. And make sure you guys download that link, bit.ly/make sales.